Okay, have you ever wondered why you can't play your doubles faster or louder? In this lesson, we're going to deal with all of that. Okay, before we get into the meat and potatoes, we're going to just look at a little bit of context. So when we first learn how to play the drums, some of the first things that we learn are grooves and fills, and obviously some of the coordination that's involved in some of that. Some of the other areas that we might look at are also our basic patterns, also known as rudiments. Generally, the first three rudiments that we learn are singles, doubles, and paradiddles. When we first start learning these patterns, we generally don't have any technique. So if we're learning with a teacher, the first bit of technique that the teacher would generally teach us is how to bounce the stick. This is referred to as the rebound stroke or the full stroke. Once we learn this basic technique, we can then apply it to these patterns, and it starts to make these patterns easier. If you're not familiar with the rebound stroke, I strongly recommend you check out my course linked in the description below. It's all about the rebound stroke. It's currently, at the time of making this video, 80% off, so I highly recommend. Okay, so let's say that we're bouncing the stick and we know how to do the rebound stroke, and we are now applying it to singles, doubles, and paradiddles effectively. So when it comes to the single stroke roll, it effectively means we can start to pick up some speed. Now this is fun because it means that we can start to play some of those fills that we've been learning a little bit faster. We also start to feel a lot more comfortable on the kit. We start to feel relaxed and feel a lot less tense. But now let's discuss the double stroke roll. Let's take a look at what happens when we apply this technique to the double stroke roll. We find that the hands start to feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more relaxed. But when it comes to speed, there is an issue. So the issue is that we are still using a wrist stroke for every single note. Yes, the stick is a lot more looser and a lot more relaxed, and that creates a lot more efficiency. But at the end of the day, we are still doing this for every single note. So there doesn't become much of a difference between bouncing and not bouncing. So for example, here is bouncing. And here is not bouncing. Hopefully you can see that they are still essentially using the same motion in the hands and the wrists. So how do we overcome this? So before we talk about the remedy, let's just talk a little bit about technique. So the great thing about hand technique is that there are essentially only really three main techniques. Everything else is just bells and whistles. So what do I mean by that? With the three main hand techniques, you can essentially achieve everything that you want to in your drumming. So what are the three main techniques? We have finger technique. This is essentially where we're just using our fingers and not our wrist. This gives us access to our fast twitch muscles that then can offer us speed. Then we have the molar technique. This offers us dynamics, power, and also speed. And then the third one is push-pull. So this is really good for speed, but it's also really applicable when you want to play fast one-handed patterns in things like funk and also Brazilian music. So the really important thing here is to understand that all three of those techniques utilize the rebound stroke. Without the rebound stroke, you would not be able to execute any of those techniques. Okay, so how is this relevant to doubles? Well, when we want to play doubles faster, we utilize the push-pull technique. So this lesson is not on the push-pull technique, but this is just addressing the reason why we can't play our doubles faster. So as previously discussed at the beginning of the video, if we're going to try and play our doubles with wrist motion, we get to a point where we can only play so fast. What the push-pull technique offers us is the first note is played with the wrist, while the second note is played with the fingers, and then on closing we raise the hand up, ready to start again in our wrist position. So what we're essentially doing here is we're getting 2 strokes, wrist, fingers, wrist, fingers. So this push-pull motion, or open, close, or drop, snatch, whatever we want to call it, is very efficient at producing 2 notes. So if you're not implementing that technique, that is the reason why your doubles suck. So now that you know that, you can go away and try and practice it in each hand and see if you can get that happening in your doubles. However, if you do prefer some support, I do have a link in the description below on a short course that will help you step by step, holding your hand all the way to developing faster doubles. So with that, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed that lesson. If you have, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And obviously, if you have any comments or questions, just leave them in the comment section down below. Many thanks, and I'll see you next time.